Today we are talking about compute. Think about Netflix, 200 simultaneous streams, Uber, real-time matching 10,000 cities, Amazon, thousands of orders per second, all happening because of the compute. If you are new here, I am Chris from iCloud Excel. I am ex-Amazonian. I have spent over 23 years working in IT infrastructure and AWS cloud technologies, including over a decade in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, helping organizations to build solutions on AWS cloud. On this channel, I help you master on AWS cloud, DevOps, AI through simple explanations, real-world scenarios, and hands-on learning. And why this matters to you? If you are preparing for the certifications, compute comes first. If you are a developer or IT professionals, you have to design system using compute. And if you are a complete beginners, all the AWS journey starts with compute. Without compute, you cannot go ahead. First, you have to learn compute, then next things comes. Let's imagine the old ways we had. We used to rack the servers in data centers. I know very well because I spent day and night in the data centers once upon a time. And there each and every server hardware has a single applications dedicated. Most of the times we cannot even share the two applications in same hardware. So hardware consumption was really high that time. Then the old way, the architecture diagram looks like this. You have a hardware, then you install operating system, then you install applications on single hardware. Then we moved on the new way. New way was you have a single hardware, but on top of it, we installed hypervisor. It's a software layer, and that hypervisor allowed emulation like a virtualization. So on top of it, we were able to create multiple VMs, and each VM can have a different kind of operating system. One may have Windows, another may have Linux, another may have Apple OS. So all different kind of operating system, because each and every VM, it has its own isolated environment. So each VM has its own operating system and applications. Now hardware utilization went up. Same hardware we are able to share, and we are able to create multiple VMs, and we are able to run multiple applications. This is the new way. The architecture looks like this. You have a hardware, then hypervisor, and then we have a guest VM, and each and every VM has an operating system and applications running inside it. If you compare these old ways and new ways, you see the old ways left side has a hardware, operating system, and applications. The new way, right side, hardware, hypervisor. Instead of operating system, it has a hypervisor. On top of the hypervisor, you create a VMs, and inside VM, you have a guest OS. Each VM can have different operating system because it gives a isolated environment. So what is compute now? The compute is basically processing power. Simply put, the ability of a machine to run software and execute tasks. It is that simple. Now the old way, buy a physical servers, pay for electricity, maintain it for years, then you run your applications. Sometimes utilization is really low, sometimes servers hardware are really idle. But the new way is rent exactly you need for exactly as long as you need it, and like a taxi versus owning a car. So new way is basically the cloud way, and the cloud way is basically allows you to rent that hardware, and as long as you use it, you pay for the time, you are good to go. You're not setting up the servers, data centers, maintenance, and all of these. You are totally skipping that. You're just renting that hardware and paying for it. Now it comes Amazon EC2, Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. This is a virtual machine in AWS cloud, and Amazon took that virtual machine to the totally next level. I don't think you can ever complete or implement all the features EC2 gives you. Depends on the business scenario. It has a lot of features you can avail for your business. If you want to create a virtual machine or EC2 in AWS cloud, you choose AMI, then you select the type of the instance, because selecting the type decides how much memory and CPU will get, and then you configure the network. Basically you define the network and security group, and then security group is nothing but it's a firewall, and then you click launch, and your EC2 instance or virtual machine is ready in AWS cloud in few minutes. Basically, you need AMI, Amazon Machine Image. This is a OS template, operating system template for virtual machines in EC2 cloud, right? And then you have an instance type. It decides CPU and memory size, how much you need. It has a naming conventions such as T3.micro. T3 is a class and micro is like t-shirt size, small, micro, that kind of keyword you will have. Then you need a security group. This is a virtual firewall attached to each and every EC2 instance or virtual machines in AWS cloud, and that has a rule, and based on rule that EC2 instance gets traffic. I will show you in the demonstration. Then you have a key pair. If you want to log into that EC2 instance, you cannot use username password, that is not allowed, and you need a key pair, private key, public key. So you have a private key and Amazon will have a public key, and you log into that EC2 instance. I will show you in the demonstration again. Let me go to the AWS console. Here is the console, and EC2 I use frequently, so I add that in the favorite. Click on EC2 and I am in the EC2 console, and left side, you see the left side bar has all the feature EC2 has. Here I want to create instances, and already I have one instance created. So now I'm gonna create another new one. I will click on launch instances. You can click on drop down as well. There are other options available, but for us it is a launch instance. So I'm gonna say YouTube demonstration EC2 instance. All right, so this is my EC2 instance name. This is a name tag actually, and I choose Amazon Linux as operating system. This is a AMI, by default it is selected, and this is a Linux AMI, so it is going to be Linux VM, and by default 64-bit architecture it says, that's fine. And instance is also by default selected T3 micro. This is free tier eligible. You see that, free tier eligible T3 micro. Now I'm gonna choose my key pair, which is already I created my project. Okay, and that's all you need to do. Network is already configured, but I want to see what it is. So auto assign IP is enabled, you don't have to worry about. But security group you need to restrict. So security group is creating, but in a rule we need to change my IP. So this is going to allow SSH from only my system, not everywhere else. Don't ever do this 0000 from anywhere, so your EC2 instance may get hacked. So choose my IP. It is allowed only from my system. All right, so I have all the configuration. VPC subnet is by default, it will take it. Firewall security group I created. 8 GB by default storage is configured. So right side you can verify what are the things you configured. I chose software image AMI, right? That is Amazon Machine Image for Linux. Virtual server type, instance type T3 micro, and then firewall new security group, and volume 8 GB of EBS volume. That's all I needed, and I think I'm good. I'm gonna say launch. So it is going to create a EC2 instance for me. Let's see where it takes. So it actually creating. So how do I know it's creating? Let me go to the instances again. You see the one instance is running. It takes couple of seconds. Already it is saying initializing. Initializing means you can't log in now. It takes time. How do you know it is completed? So if you click on status and alarms, you see that it says initializing. The system status check and instance status check has to pass before you log into the instance. Let me wait and I will log in. So I'm gonna refresh one more time. So it still says initializing. So verifying again, this is the instance we created, YouTube demonstration. And if I check the status, it says 3 status check passed. This system status check, instance status check, and EBA status check. This is passed. So now if we go and try to log in, it should work now. So this is the public IP we copied from the console, and this is the SSH key, and this is the user. Let's hit enter. There we go. So it's going in now. It took a little while. Now you know how easy it is to create a EC2 instance. There are a lot goes in EC2 instance. There is a separate course involved for the EC2 instance. Before we go any further, I want to tell you about something which is going to change how fast you can grow on AWS. I have built a private community called 10x AWS Builder, and it is not just another Facebook group or Discord server or WhatsApp group with a lot of noise. This is focused and professional community built specifically for people like you, people who are serious about building their AWS career, passing their certifications, getting hired or promoted to the next cloud role. Here is what you get the moment you sign up. Weekly live Q&A calls. Ask me anything about AWS certifications, jobs. This will be live Q&A weekly sessions. I hold that Zoom call and you get answer instantly. And we can brainstorm as well on your problem. And you get direct mentorship. I will personally help you to build your learning roadmap, your certification path, fix your gaps, and keep you accountable for your goals. And I will guide you on this every step of the way. Third thing, you get 24/7 community access. At night 11 p.m. you got a questions, just post your questions. Our community never sleeps. Someone from your community member will answer it. And you get peer network of serious AWS learners. The people who join 10x AWS Builder, they are not here to watch passively. They are building, certifying, and landing cloud jobs. And that energy is contagious. Link in the description below. I will see you in the community. Now let's talk about some real world scenario where EC2 instance is prevalent. It's very powerful for that services such as Netflix. Netflix runs on EC2 auto scaling group. And this is the software which handles multiple EC2 instances together. It has a policy. Based on that policy, it adds EC2 instance when peak is high and it removes EC2 instance when peak is low. The same way Airbnb does the same thing. It started with few EC2 instances and scaled to millions of booking in 200 countries just running the application on EC2 instance. The pharma research companies like 10,000 CPU cores on demand, run simultaneously 48 hours and shut down. Pay only for the 48 hours. So they didn't have to buy all this hardware, just pay rent 48 hours. They are good to go. So these are the very common use case in EC2 instance, and you will find your own when you go to the real world project or working for a company. So keep exploring EC2 instance. 5 things you remember before you go. Number 1, compute is a processing power. Without it, nothing in the cloud actually runs. All the softwares you see, they're running on compute, and then probably you are accessing that software. Then VMs are basically software based computer, shared hardware, private behavior. AWS calls them instances. EC2, AWS's VM service. Elastic Compute Cloud, this is AWS's VM service. You can launch EC2 instance by second, pay by the second, and scale globally. You must know your pricing model. I will have separate video on the pricing model just for your information. Remember, they have a on-demand, reserved, spot, dedicated host. So each require separate video altogether. You own the operating system. AWS owns the hardware. This is the critical piece. Because security is concerned, compliance is concerned, your responsibility is operating system and AWS's responsibility is underlying hardware. So patch your instances, configure your security groups, your responsibility. Thank you so much for joining this video. If you have any questions, drop a comment below and I will see you in the next piece.